we can't do a lot of that with sales. Sales is behind, right? Sales technology. So I've come into the sales world from user acquisition and mobile marketing, like the biggest spenders who, in many ways, I worked with all the people from the Social Dilemma, right? I worked for Sean Parker and then spent 13 years with growth hackers.
Everything leads to growth with the National Association for Sales Professionals. The Leads to Growth podcast with the National Association for Sales Professionals provides in-depth discussions sharing the best sales, prospecting, influence, and communication skills, as well as sales training techniques to take your professional sales career to the next level.
Hello and welcome to Leads to Growth podcast with the National Association of Sales Professionals. My name is Christopher McCoy, back again, aka Chris, aka Miami. I've been called a lot of things, as y'all know, and all not good, but most of them are. And honestly, y'all, today I'm a little giddy. I'm a little excited. It's Monday morning. I've been amped up all morning. I'm really excited about our guest today. We've got Justin Michael. Justin, thank you for being here today, buddy.
It's great to be here. Thanks,
Awesome, man.
Chris. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I always say I'm living the life of a Don Henley lyric because I live in Southern California, and it really feels like right out of an Eagles song, including the Mission Bell. And, you can check out at any time, but you can never leave. I've tried to leave Southern California, but I always end up living back here.
Well, I know where you're going to end up if you do leave, and that's probably here in Austin. But for all those
Yeah.
who don't know who Justin is, honestly, I'm a little late to the game. I found out about Justin a couple months ago, and was kind of slowly stalking him on Facebook through some of his articles I saw on Vendor Neutral, and just his conversation about the future of sales. And for all y'all who don't know, I am very much into the future of where things are going in technology, and just really on that front, and being able to bridge that gap and where we are to where we want to go, right? And with things moving so fast, and as we heard recently, people like Bill Gates saying that sales is going to be the number one skill that people will need moving forward, and into this next evolution of where we're going. We all know that everything that we do on a daily basis is sales, and we talk about that all the time on Leads to Growth. So who we have here today is Justin Michael. So for those of you who don't know, Justin Michael is the AKA the Tony Starks of XDRs. Like, yeah, Tony Stark, maybe Elon Musk, whatever you want to call him, but he's a futurist, an author of a Tech-Powered Sales, which is releasing on HarperCollins in 2021. This is one you want to look out for, y'all. After 2 decades of consulting over 100 early stage startups and hypergrowth, and holding leadership roles at LinkedIn, Salesforce, and reporting directly to Sean Parker himself, Justin was part of a stealth project where engineers built an AI model of his brain while prospecting with the goal of full automation sales development itself. He's passionate about AI, ML, NLP, a bunch of other things with letters, deep learning AI, the neural network evolution, which is fascinating to me. I've been doing so much reading on this area in order to bridge towards the singularity, right? This is something that's coming, and we can't stop it. So how do we lean into it, embrace it with the best ways that we can? So his writing seeks to unlock all the ways marketing and sales leaders can apply these mechanics to free up the human in the sales process, restoring quality, consultative exchange to drive value in the sales world, as opposed to this crazy automation of the way things are going, with people not even really personalizing anything and not really using their best selves, right? And so I'm going to let Justin tell you a little bit about how he got into this place of a futurist in the sales world, and really what that looks like on a day-to-day basis for him. And Justin, please, man, futurism and sales, how did you get into this world, and what does your day-to-day look like right now?
Yeah, thanks for that. It's an exciting time. A few years ago, I was part of Outbound Works, and that was the co-founder of DataNize, Ben Sardella. And we wanted to see how much technology we could throw at the problem. Now, marketing has had a lot of the tools first. It's not uncommon to go and spend, $50 million on Facebook and use overlays. I worked for a tech company in Israel called Bidalgo, which is a bidding algorithm. There's a variety of machine learning and automation programs that can watch almost like a high frequency trading on the stock exchange as you're making bids, and can programmatically shift budgets. So you can have artificial intelligence looking at your campaigning and making sure that, if you're overspending on an outcome, it taps that down. And if something starts to have a good outcome, I just very much simplifying it. And they were getting into a space called deep learning AI, which was kind of like AI automation. What was super cool about deep learning AI is the AI could look at different ad campaigns with like video games, and it could see, okay, here are the blue backgrounds, or here are the orange bricks or mushroom, and it could figure out which ads had the best return on investment, like when people saw them. And then it could use predictive analytics to predict, if you started changing colors, shapes, and things in the ad, how likely it was. Now,
Wow.
we can't do a lot of that with sales. Sales is behind, right? Sales technology. So I've come into the sales world from user acquisition and mobile marketing, like the biggest spenders who, in many ways, I worked with all the people from the Social Dilemma, right? I worked for Sean Parker and then spent 13 years with growth hackers. And the documentary is an interesting one, right? Because it promotes a website and it ultimately does exactly the opposite of what it's sort of fighting against, which is one of the great ironies, but it has some good points. I think the thing to think about is that since I work with these folks, I think they're a little more altruistic and they're a little more aware than you might think.
Sure.
But it makes a great statement. Well, what we were
The
trying to
awareness
do,
is key. Yeah.
yeah, I think people are aware and they're trying to change. But rather than make this political statement here, the reason I want to apply it to sales is not to growth hack the prospect, because there's not an ad unit there. What we're trying to do is 70% of what a salesperson does right now is automatable. So you have these people that have gone to a great school, or they're 10 years experience, they've been in the trench forever, and you sit them down, they become a sales development rep, or they become a full cycle AE, which means they sell and they have to drive their leads, they have to generate the business, they have to close it. Sometimes these folks have to even, you know once the contract's signed, onboard them and train them. I mean, these roles get, you're wearing every hat.
Oh yeah.
The problem is, if you take a person who's that qualified in the human brain, which is equal to all human compute in the AI power, and you're having them do low level tasks 70% of their day, right? Log into a system, pull out the CSV, go into Excel, log into another system, upload it. I mean, if you start doing the power automation, it's pretty crazy how much administrative tasks goes in. And so my mission is just to not like growth hack how to get a customer, but free up the time for the salesperson. Wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to, after your whole day of prospecting, go into multiple systems and clean the data and make sure all the notes are there? Wouldn't it be nice on the Zoom call if I had an assistant popping up the latest, 3 articles by Chris McCoy, telling me more about the NASP, telling me more about the multiple things he's interested in, queuing for me. Oh, guess what? Other people on my team have talked to Chris. Here's what those conversations were about. Mention that. So there's a lot of like augmented intelligence and AI assistance, like the movie Her, or like the
Yes. Yeah.
Jarvis, where it could be giving you prompts, because it can do something. It can parse data that the human mind can't. There's a company, Cheetah IQ. It just filters right through the 10K and 10Q, right to the elements that are pertinent to a sales conversation, sucks that right out, puts it in a snippet in one of your sequencers. So um, I got involved in all of this because it really is that metaphor of like two people are outrunning a bear, and one just like wants to put better running shoes on and become a faster runner, and I could just get on a moped and the bear will eat you. So it's like, if you're not using all this automation or you're against it, it's just fine, but someone else will figure it out and master it, and they'll do the work of 100 people.
Justin,
And yeah.
it's so true, and I see this on a daily basis. People are too afraid to take that short time to slow down, right? That short time to slow down, to learn, to take time to build the automation, to build the systems, to build the processes, to talk to somebody and consult somebody on the outside about what, because there's so much new technology out there. To try to be an expert on your own from the inside is so foolish. So there's so few people that want to slow down and take the time in order to speed up, in order to jump on that moped and accelerate forward.
Yeah, so after doing that startup, it's really crazy. So I was like a VP and an RVP. I did a lot of consulting. People would come back into the country, like the original founder of ValueClick was like retired, and he was, dancing flamenco in the caves in Spain. He came back to Santa Barbara, and I did some consulting with him because he liked the fact that I was a jack of all trades, had some understanding of marketing, operations, and sales. And that impacts what I do now, because where I sit is I work for vendorneutral.com and I work for tenbound.com in a dual futurist role. which was this guy named David Shing, or Shingy for AOL, he was a digital prophet. That was always my dream. I was like, can my job just be that I come up with like crazy things like technology could do? So I have a podcast on both. Vendor Neutral, I went with Quantum Leap, and Tenbound, I have Beyond Sales Development, sort of like always like a utopian, like a William Shatner or an 80s sci-fi feel. So I'm trying to bring a lot of fun to B2B, almost take a B2C approach and a fun back to the future sort of
Very much so.
optimistic view of the future, right? Because, Elon Musk's out there creating his foundation in case we get Skynet and the machines eat all of us. But a couple of things that will happen, we're not going to have cell phones pretty close here, next 15 years. If an alien came down and said, wait, there's this human, it walks, but then it's attached to this little, square polyurethane thing, we're going to have our hands back. And that's good ergonomically, because we do have two hands and two legs. And why does our technology inhibit a hand? That's one of the strangest things about our tech. So it'll all be wearable and IoT, and we're going to go in the fourth industrial revolution. And then, we're going to have a lot of systems then that exist, almost like when you're driving a nice sports car today and you have the HUD, the heads-up display that's showing you how many miles an hour. So you're looking at a normal view, but just subtle. It shows you how many miles an hour. That's the key, is it should just enhance what you're doing with little cues that aren't disruptive.
I love that.
I could go on and on about this.
No, I love that. I read a great book, The Heart of the Machine, and I can't remember the author offhand right now, but it really talks about emotional intelligence as we move forward, and how our best ability to adapt in this whole world of singularity is to be the interface, right? To be the interface and the thing that makes, because machines will never be able to take what it is to be a human. They'll never be able to have that, but we'll never be able to have that, the connectedness and all the automation tools and ability of an AI. So, but to lean into that, to be that connectivity, that bridge.
Yeah, so I actually isolated TQ. That
TQ.
was the first name of my book, Technology Quotient or
Okay.
Adaptability Quotient or Digital Quotient. It's called TQ, DQ, AQ. It's Psychology Today. It's been in all the major analyst write-ups. You could look at it like on Deloitte, or I think maybe Gartner and Forrester have a view of this. Technology Quotient is a human being's ability to fuse with a UI or UX. Now, TQ is also just if you drive a forklift or if you drive a race car. If you're driving a Formula One car, there's G-force. You learn how to flex your muscles, and you just actually condition and train for the curves and how to, interface with your braking systems and your heating and cooling in the engine. Or if you're flying a 747, you develop vast amounts of technology quotient. That quotient creates an unconscious competence. So what I started doing is, like in the old days, I came from the music business. So I used to use Pro Tools and Logic. Actually, all the recording software, extremely advanced and very hard to learn. It takes 10 years to learn this stuff. So I learned all that. I was really big into Photoshop, did 10 years on that. So I was super into UI and UX. So when I got to like Outreach.io and SalesLoft and Groove and Xant and all these like power sequencers and then everything that plugs into them, I was like, game over. I'm just going to learn this stuff and use it. So I hired third parties to do it. I had a third party, so with a third party, I was able to do, 6 months of man hours in 6 weeks. Boom, easily. By the amount of emails I sent, the kind of systems they came out of, I was generating 12 to 15 meetings a day. I was able to do a $150,000 deal in like 45 days. I had sound barrier breaking results over and over again. As these systems came out, it would just be not only the volume, but what I do is I do manual approaches and make sure, okay, this is a good email. I find these master key emails. So I test, 30 subject lines and 20 email templates. And then once I saw a streak, whoa, that one gets really high opens. Oh, that one's converting a lot of meetings. I call it a spear, like a spear fisherman. I take that and then I automate that. So I always paper prototype. I always go through and figure out,
Did
it's
you
like
say you
an ad
test
campaign.
30 subject lines?
Yeah, but usually when I run in a sequencer a sales engagement platform, they're being called, Outreach is sort of the sequencer, and then SalesLoft is cadence. These have become terms.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, when you're running a test of email, my first email, I always do like a 6 subject line drop. So I'll send 200 emails and be simultaneously with a scientific control testing the first 6 to test subject line, and then I'll test the opening sentence, and then I'll test the call to action. You see streaks. It's just like an ad campaign. It's like movie testing, right? Like Nike tests these 6 variants of the commercial, and for some reason, this one gets the highest net promoter score. you get immediate feedback loops. So I took a real scientific approach to the testing. And when I was sending millions of emails at Outbound Works, same thing. You could get really high reply rate, but it's just 40 people saying, take me off the list. So there's a lot of
Right.
false positives. You have to be, the campaign that gets opened, maybe not the most, it's the outcome. Which one gets the strongest replies that are converting into interest and desire for the meeting?
I love this. And one of the fascinating things to me now is just this whole how it's turning the sales world upside down. Whereas the salespeople of 20 or 30 years ago, the successful salespeople were those only people that could what talk you out of sell ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves, right? The sleight of tongue, the person who was really good in the person to be able to sell. And now the opportunities are becoming, no, we're using math, we're using algorithms, we're using technology in order to leverage these opportunities. But also the other thing, Justin, is you come at this with a lot of confidence. You bring a very confident approach to the game, which is because I assume a lot because of your testing.
Yeah. So, who comes to the table with confidence? Aaron Ross. He wrote Predictable Revenue. He did this. He took Salesforce from 0 to 100 million, took a village. I was at Salesforce too, but he kind of pioneered this idea of sales development representatives. He pioneered the idea of the Henry Ford model.
Yes.
Like, it's actually, I am part of comboprospecting.com because there are a lot of field sellers out there who don't have the luxury of the assembly line. They don't get to have an SDR team. If you're out there and you're a small business owner, or the 30 million businesses, you're the CEO, you're the head of sales, you're the head of marketing, you're the CFO, right? There's a lot of people in these kind of sharded roles where they're, working on a million things and split apart. So there are systems where you can kind of do it all. But he was one to say to Silicon Valley, hey, we've got to have just a dedicated team doing the inbounds, just processing all that stuff hitting the site. We need to have a dedicated team doing the outbounds. All they do all day is set meetings. And then let your closers close. Take the calls, do the discovery, peel the onion, get in there, bant,
Lean
spin,
into
all
your
that good stuff.
strengths, right?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
Moneyball. It's sort of Moneyball Henry
Moneyball.
Ford.
He
Like,
moneyballed it. I love it.
and what he predicts, as I've interviewed him, and he's a mentor, and I'm definitely a disciple of his methods, is that we're going to see 31 flavors of subspecialization. Right? If someone's really good in social media, they'll just do social media all day. Someone's great at email campaigns, they'll do that. Then there's someone like me who's just like a cold call, totally calm on the calls. I predicted that the next revolution, though, I read his book in 2011 5-6 times and applied it and ran teams around it, and I followed it to a T. And I predicted now we're going to see about 500 vendors in sales tech automation go to 5,000. Valuation from 700 million go to 5 billion. We're going to see SDRs go from 600,000 to 2 million. Why? This was a Mark Andreessen prediction in 1999. Mark Andreessen, as you know, was part of Netscape and has created A16Z, which is Andreessen, his last name. There's 16 characters between the A and the Z. That's why it's called A16Z. Anyway,
Did not know that.
he's a really crazy futurist and one of the best VCs ever. And he predicted software is eating the world.
Oh, wow.
Well, then we have this problem. Everybody IPO'd. I won't mention the names. The baggage came out, the dirty laundry. We're on the tables yodeling and drinking tequila. People don't IPO anymore. You know what happens? The funding rounds are 100 million a piece. 40% of the funding rounds in 2019 were these mega rounds. What happens when you have to revolutionize trucking with SaaS? And then you raise $100 million and you have to grow at 20 to 40%. You have to hire SDRs. You need people to sell and create meetings. Where's the talent pool? It's not even there because you can't hire fast enough. So there's all these untrained workforce. Now COVID hits and the restaurant industry, the service industry, the airline industry, all these folks are going to become sales development reps. And you know what's going to happen? The Cambrian explosion of technology platforms is going to choke out the rep. The problem is you have to now upskill people that have never sold. You have to log into 6 or 7 systems and get proficient at using the automation immediately. Because like a self-driving Uber, you have to have analysis. It's almost like data science. You have to be able to see what these platforms are throwing back at you. Otherwise, you're just junking the pipe. If you put a bad email in a sequencer and send it to 30,000 people, you can get no replies. It's common. Yeah. This is besttemplates.com. We put the template in the canon. Nothing. There's a team. It was 5 SDRs, 30,000 emails, not a meeting. I got in within 2 days. I had, multiple meetings. What did you do? Well, we got to put the right message in there. It does matter. It's like when you go on Netflix and there's every Nicolas Cage movie you didn't want to see, and you watch a couple and you're just like, can you please make a good movie, right? Like he's got
Well, I mean, when he puts out
stakes
10
and
a year,
stakes.
it's a little tough to catch
Yeah.
all the good ones, but they can't all be Face Off, right?
Yeah, no, there's definitely some good Nick Cage movies, but sometimes that's a great analogy
Yeah.
because there's quantity, but you're just starving for a plot line, right? How many things can we blow up?
It kind of it kind of reminds me too of I just had a great conversation from David Gonzalez's group and internet marketing party he does here in Austin, and he had a great copywriter on. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he said, "Look, you can't just ask for a great copywriter these days. What's your product? What's your niche? What's your industry? There's so many different copywriters that there's so many niches of copywriters now, and I think, as you mentioned, those sales is getting that niched out as well, and it is not slowing down."
So what I teach people is how to write effective emails and how to do effective cold calls. And
Oh,
that
I love this.
same way of communicating would go into a video email.
Okay.
I have done 20,000 hours of cold calls and I've powered used the tech stacks. I'm one of the top practitioners of this stuff, I think, of all time, just by hours. So it's kind of like somebody that's, been up into space and been part of that and been to the space station and been part of NASA. There's like no people that have done that.
Right.
How many astronauts have you met? I've never met one. So like
I've not.
I asked, I have 35,000 people, another 350,000 in my networks, and I know about 5 people that have actually sent over 1 million personalized emails, million senders. You see streaks. It's like at those scales, you see exactly how many words you can put in the subject line, exactly how many sentences. And so I started to go research Jeremy Donovan because he's like a scientist at SalesLoft. He's gone through and he'll test the stuff with scientific controls. He'll still do like 6 million emails and he'll use scientific method and he'll say, okay, hey Chris outperforms hi Chris, or thanks or best is actually the same. And you don't want to be under 250 words. And he's looked at every parameter. And what was crazy, I was reading his chapters, his experiments, and I'm like, this is exactly what I found. Because I found it the hard way. I found it by just split testing and split testing and split testing. Like, let's do a 2,000 word email. Nope. Let's do a 400 word, And so now I found with neuroscience, the gong is saying that 3 sentences is processed in 3.3 seconds and 3 paragraphs is processed in 13 seconds. But then I had this stunning realization. If you look at the last 200 messages you sent to your loved ones, your friends, your investors, your best clients, nobody is talking in paragraphs.
Mm-mm.
Twitter, Facebook Messenger, TikTok, Snap, WhatsApp, text. It's all these short bursts. And there's not a lot of convincing. I'm not like, hey, Chris, there's this great Tex-Mex restaurant in Austin, but let me go into the value. Similar friends of mine have found that the lamb barbacoa was pleasing to them on an Epicurean level. Could I take, 26 minutes of your time to go have a mezcal? Come on. I mean, let's
I
just,
already went and got a burger, by the way.
yeah, I'd be like, hey, Chris, this restaurant rocks. You want to go check it out?
Yeah.
SuerteTX.com. It's amazing. I was there for South by. So what I did is I created a framework called the Justin Michael Method, and all it does is it sells like the brain processes. Turns out if you put an image in an email, it moves at 60,000 times faster than text. Yep.
Yeah,
And then I also found that on the phone, my big breakthrough there is that the phone is tone, but the phone is a power. So the
Say
problem
that again. You said the phone is tone, but the phone is
it's a power shift.
power shift.
So the thing about phone calls, all the prevailing templates are like, hey, it's Justin Michael from Acme Corp, the reason for my call. So I identify myself and I talk about my reason and my product. I try to hook you because I say, oh, similar companies, similar banks saw this value. But my phone template goes, who's in charge of this? I actually spotlight the prospect and I keep the prospect talking like with an Aikido move. And because they're talking the whole front of the call, I have 12 to 15-minute phone calls. This is revolutionizing outbound sales.
Wow.
Now,
So you're getting them to break their pattern right off the bat, right? And get into talking, as opposed to the same loop of patterns which they get from every other salesperson, which is listen first to the log draw thing. You're getting them to talk first, which just completely breaks their pattern.
Right. So all my systems are Sandler style, pattern interrupt, reverse. Yeah. It doesn't matter what system on the market now. I've actually never seen one. I think Ashley Early had one. I'm calling in regards to this. She's using routing. My thing is called route, ruin, multiply. But basically, yeah, you're getting them to talk first. And it totally shifts the polarity. They say their name and they say what they're in charge of, and they start talking about where they're powerful, and they don't want to get off the phone. And if you ask them their opinion on what they're doing, they'll go forever. People love to have an opinion. They love to tell you what they're in charge of. They love to tell you.
Talking about themselves.
what we normally do as sellers, we call a person and then we start to argue and debate, because immediately we point out, oh, you're using that other vendor? Yeah, they're pretty good, but Acme Corp's better. How about validating them? How about the fact that they got the job, inherited this legacy tech? It's totally frustrating. They really don't have the power to change. They're stuck in the system. They've been there for 9 months. They did the best they could. How about, hey, Sally, wow, that must have been tough. You
Justin,
inherited that system, right?
I love that. It's such an empathetic way to approach. This is we always forget that sales is a human speaking to a human, right? That there is a human on the other side of that that has emotions, that has a career, that life is built through that career, almost the same as yours. And their families are attached to it, their personal identity is attached to that job. So allowing them to feel a little bit good about themselves. What they always say, people will never forget remember the words you said, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. And tapping that button on the first piece of a call is brilliant.
Yeah, that's actually a Maya Angelou quote and one of my favorites.
Mm.
But yeah, so this is actually interesting, right? Because it's very altruistic what I'm doing, but I'm really just following neuroscience. So it's like an awesome byproduct. The truth is, most people don't have much power in their lives, and most people inherit a technology system that they don't want. So if you validate and agree and listen to their story of why they're there, they'll talk themselves into comfort level with you and be open to change. And so my email framework is visual and my call framework is tone. And it's that simplicity. And I put it out there for $10 a month on Patreon, and now I dropped it to $1. And now it's virtually free. And then everyone who gets it goes into a Discord server, which is a gaming platform that holds 550,000 gamers. It's called Discord, if you've heard of it. Is like Slack and Zoom on steroids. Imagine a Slack channel, but everybody's got two-way video and two-way calling and screen sharing. And then you just drop into different groups and you can tear down emails. They go in there and they watch me cold call. So every day at 4 o'clock. So now here's the problem. People get the method. They go, well, I can't get anyone on the phone. Of course you can. Phone is gone. To get your contact rates, you need to use something like Connect and Sell or Orem or Connect Leader, which is called a parallel assisted dialer. So what I do is I have a team of 4 people in Medellin, Colombia. They pre-call my phone numbers, so all my cell phones work. Then I take 200 VPs of sales and drop them into a power dialer, and they're called 10 at a time. And then I connect every 30 seconds. So in 45 minutes, I do 16-hour calling, and people watch it like a show. And then I show them all these different techniques, and I just sort of dance with these prospects. And all the ones that say not interested or trying to hang up on me, they watch me keep them on the phone for 15 minutes. And they're like, this is sorcery. Like, how are you even connecting, and how are you keeping them on the line? I was really involved with comboprospecting.com. If you're saying like this guy's full of it, I can't even get someone on the phone, get combo prospecting, because it's more about voicemails and what you can do. But I'm talking about like fully automated, like my gear is $100,000. The stack I'm on every day, it costs $100,000, not of mine. My clients sponsor me, and vendors like Connect and Sell sponsor me, and Cloud Task, which is a great sales development
Love
as a
Amir
service.
at Cloud Task. Those guys are
Yeah,
great over there. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So that's what's possible, right? You can get systems to automate your calling and automate your emails, and you get systems to clean your data. But then when you're doing that, you've built a tech stack, and you feel like Tony Stark or Antonia Stark, or let's
Yeah,
bring
there you
everyone to the
go.
table. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let everybody have an opportunity at this one.
Everybody can feel like a superpower, tech enabled human. Then we're back to square one. It's a return to innocence, because then we're like, what are we going to say?
Yeah, Justin,
And then
I love this, man, and I just want to put a little push pin in this and say, like, this, it's almost like we're in the decentralization of the opportunity of being a sales. Before, like, people, how do I get into this company to get this opportunity to sell for this industry or whatever? And that stuff is leaving. You don't need to go find a company these days. You can generate your own value, create your own worth yourself. There are opportunities where you can have resources that you wouldn't normally have through companies like CloudStack that are out there allowing you to outsource with lower cost of technology, people that are already trained highly on what you're looking to do. You can follow people like Justin and their programs. They're giving them away, y'all. You can follow the ClickFunnels stuff. I mean, listen, if you don't know Justin already, you need to get his program. It's $1. We're going to put it in the notes here for the podcast. It's nothing. He's got another upgrade, which I think is $10. Justin, is the next program.
So I definitely don't want to be a dark guru. I give away the entire method. In fact, on Reddit, I gave it all away and I got gilded. I got 1,000 upvotes. I don't really know how Reddit works, but yes, I have like a full distillation of the program, like a Bob Ross for like under $200, sort of like Josh Braun that I finally built because I was pushed to. But without a joke, if you pay me $1 now, if you're out of work and you're hurting, just contact me on LinkedIn. I'll just give it to you for free. I'll bring you into the Discord. If you're a student, if something bad's happened, if you're disenfranchised in some way, if I can help you, um, I just care about your results. How do I make my money? All these people go out, hundreds of people, they start getting meetings, they start succeeding, and their bosses call me, and then I go in and train their team. So I do management consulting, and I'm kind of new to this. It's fun. But the IC, the individual contributor, that's my heart and soul. Like a single mom picks up the program, boom, starts crushing meetings. Like I live for that because it works. I just want to put out stuff that works,
And that's why we at NASP are doubling down with our relationship with Justin. We're going to be doing a lot more. Don't worry, we're going to be twisting his arm. That's why I'm bringing it up a little bit live. But we're going to be doing some more things together in the future. But what you need is, look, people are giving you the tools. They're giving you the resources. They're giving you the formulas. Justin here is handing over everything he uses in order to be successful. But that still means that you've got to get off your butt and do it. That means that you've got to change your behaviors. A lot of people out there in a place right now because you're maybe a victim to what happened to you, or the world, changed and you're now in a place. Well, the thing is you got to get up and move. You got to change your behavior. And it doesn't happen overnight. Justin didn't become this guy who's literally, you should see this guy's calendar. It's absolutely ridiculous. And every single time you talk to him, he has the exact same energy and he's going morning till night. You don't get this way by just being born this way. It takes conditioning. It takes making a decision every single day. And that's why the certification programs at NASP are so special, because we help you build those habits, to break those old patterns which prevented you from moving forward before, and help you build those new ones now, so that you can then take the things, the tools that they're giving you, and then start putting them to work. And it doesn't take, you heard him, 20,000, 30,000 hours. You have to go out there and fail. Enjoy failing. Failing brings you closer to learning. He tests 30 subject lines. Do you think 29 of them don't work great? You think he throws his hands in the air when they don't? No, he's like, okay, great. The next one's gonna. Right. So it's a lot about mindset, y'all. I really want everybody to know that and hear that, Justin, that you're giving this stuff away. And why does he still make money? It's because most people still won't put this stuff to work. He still makes money
Yeah.
because he's still got to go out and train. So go ahead, Justin.
Yeah. So on those notes, sales is really a character. Like your attitude determines your altitude. I typically chuckle when I get rejected. I tend to, on my show, when people, when they do the ratchet, like they do the little snake, they're like, "What's your name?" Justin. I go, "Where are you from, Cloud Task?" "Oh, really?" Click, and they hang up. They're just like, "Never call me again. You violated GDPR," whatever it is. I just kind of laugh. I just brush it off. Like, you want to be like a duck. You're calm on the surface and you're
Yeah.
paddling like hell underneath. I would say I did this a long time. I ran call centers. I had a lot of the jobs no one wants. I did graveyard shifts. I came up without a college degree, and I worked my way up, clawing and scratching over 10 years to get to Salesforce and LinkedIn. And those jobs were really legit, and I felt really privileged because those companies had previously rejected me, and they eased their algorithm on the college degree requirement because they really just wanted to go after great sellers. And so by the
Ah,
time I reached those organizations, I had enough references and enough track record of deal closure and deal creation that I was known through the networks as someone they could trust to do social selling in a really innovative way, or really new
earned his way.
technology, and could speak the language of CMO, right? So, and I really credit Sean Parker for giving me that chance and that atmosphere that would allow me to parlay that into a role at Salesforce, where I got to manage a massive book of business and got trained by Todd Capone, who did the transparency sale. He was my sales trainer in a boot camp in Indianapolis. Man, imagine spending a month with that guy, training
My
you
gosh.
every day. Yeah, it was
Crazy.
pretty incredible. So
Yeah.
my mentor is Tony J. Hughes in Australia. He's an amazing voice. He wrote Combo Prospecting, the Joshua Principle. He goes and trains sellers at Salesforce and LinkedIn. Um, so, yeah, for me, I would just say that I created a system that's actually a good segue here, because the vast majority of the templates on the market are long, and the systems are like, you watch dozens of videos and get in all this philosophy and you learn all these things. And it's really cool and it's deep. And I almost look at it like content marketing. It teaches you how to be brilliant in a LinkedIn feed. My stuff is very, very lightweight, hard
Human.
hitting, 3 sentences. It's remember, people copy and paste my templates all day. but my science is about heuristics and meta frameworks. So I'm going to throw a crazy word at you called heuristics, and you're going to glaze over. All it is that everything in linguistics it's another thing. It's connotation. So if I write an email and I open with a joke, you shouldn't copy my knock knock joke. You should just do humor opener. And if you're going to use social proof, which means show me how a similar customer in my vertical, hey, you know, major bank, we helped huge bank get, a 25% increase in profit. So now I'm doing a social proof statement. I'm taking a similar company and highlighting the concept of social proof, right? Well, if it works for Chris, it'll work for me. What I'm trying to do is a series of growth hacks to get your emails lightweight, like a text message. You can write the thing in a minute. When you leave a voicemail, you can leave a voicemail in 30 seconds. It's everything in my systems are painfully short. It's so hyper short that marketing won't let you send it. Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit. And Leonardo da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. But Einstein said, make everything as simple as possible, but not too simple. So we're in this problematic zone where we try to simplify, but then we have the AFL and FNAC, and that means another F in login and feature not a company. And now if you're in sales and you're hearing this, and if you're even on this podcast, you have a Gmail and a Slack and a Teams and an Excel how many systems do you have to log into just to get on this Zoom today, just to see this webinar, right? So you don't think you have a tech stack. This is why my book was written, but you have to MacGyver whatever they gave you. Like there's no more, I just use the legal pad, my rotary phone, a fax machine. Like it's a technical society now. And if you don't get savvy about leveraging this tech, your competitors will, and you'll be late to the party.
And it's such a brilliant thing. And there was another quote. I'm gonna have to start getting better at remembering who made all the quotes. But someone said, if I had more time, I would have written it shorter or something like that, or more concise. There was another quote around that. But I love this. And also the idea is look at an email. Just think subconsciously. You get an email that's 4 paragraphs, or you get an email that's 3 or 4 sentences. Which one is personal and which one is selling you? Right off the bat, you're going to say, oh, the shorter one's personal, the longer one's selling me, right off the bat. So now if your subconscious is telling you that shorter email, you have less opportunity to actually make an impact now, right? So the words that you say there are so important. Go ahead.
So this is what's really paradoxical. So right now, the state of email is that people have fallen in love with the personalization at scale, and that's because it's very good for marketing and the tool vendors. But let me tell you, Chris, I might not know you that well, but if on my first meeting I said, Chris, I went to your Facebook page. I know you love Pearl Jam 10. There's a CD in the mail. I drop shipped it. I actually shipped it myself first, and I just wrote a little haiku in there because I read your blog. I wrote that. I also found that you and your family donated to the local Boys and Girls Club. I made a donation on your behalf. Like, dude,
yeah,
really?
I've already called the cops for sure.
You called the cops, or you've been like, you're gonna get me into some pyramid scheme or charge me
Right.
like
Is this
sirens.
Scientology, or I mean, what's going on?
You never know, right?
Yeah.
So the problem is that these reps now are taught just hyper personalized, put so much effort. They're researching 5 hours a day. I'm like, how many calls did you make today? I didn't have time for the calls. I'm doing this research system. It's like, okay, how many conversations with people do I have? Oh, I'm gonna work on that next week. What? So like I come from the era of like 100 calls a day, sure, and that is a hammer and nail. I'm not saying that's good, but somewhere in the middle of the spectrum is like
You need that balance.
20% personalization is what Aaron Ross said, or you get a creepy factor. And trust me, he saw a lot of email. And then Jeremy Donovan tested that and he proved it also, 80-20 rule. So like get their first name right, make sure you have like a pain that you solve for their challenge is what they do, right? They're in IT for this type of vertical, nail the demographic, the firmographic. Maybe mention, hey, it's cool to see you on the CMO council. You got top 50 women in business. Great job. Like that might be a cool thing as an icing. But if that's all you have, if you're like, hey, John, hi, John, in these uncertain times, our CRM system is the most powerful, fastest, feeds. The other thing, go Bears.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So my stuff is actually so short. Powerful people are scared of the big emails, and when you just shoot them something, like Mike Bosworth, the founder of Solution Selling, said that the human mind has 7 slots. He took this from Daniel Goleman and Richard Bandler. These were the founders of emotional intelligence and NLP, not natural language processing, which is a technology system that parses, it transcribes. It's what Gong and Course are using. But NLP is neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes.
And so, where was I even going with this? I just got right off the track. So you have 7 slots, right?
7 slots, yes.
Personalization and relevance are the same thing in my system.
Okay.
Because right now, Chris McCoy is probably trying to grow the NASP or some other thing he's doing. He has some problem or challenge. He needs exposure. He needs traction. He needs sales. There's something he needs. If I interrupt Chris and I nail one of the 7 pains, they'll probably take the call. For
Yeah.
example, I was trying to grow my social media, and this lady named String was brought to my attention. Her name's String. I'm like, that's kind of wild. What does she do? She'd been top 3 on LinkedIn 3 times. She's sponsored by Lenovo. Her posts on social media get 1 million views. I
Jeez.
immediately contacted her. I was like, get me 1 million views. Name your price.
Yeah.
Because I was so interrupted. Like someone could come knock on the door in a ninja suit and be like, I can get you 1 million LinkedIn views, and I would let them through the door. Because the interruption is so relevant to me. I'm trying to build my brand. The reason that's so important is I have 35,000 followers, but before I met her, I was only getting 600 views per post. There's just been so much change
In the algorithms,
of the
yeah.
algorithm, and I would prefer not to pay LinkedIn to do advertising just to, right? I already spent 15 years getting, this happened on Facebook too. We're all frustrated.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing their thing. They're serving ads. Like here we are. But so what I'm highlighting though is the relevant pain. So that what I'm trying to do with the system is 1, put it in a package they can digest in seconds, put it in a way that is disarming. So it's not needy. It's not, you're not trying too hard. Nail the personalization, like Kayla Citron Thaler's in my group. She does amazing video messages. She said personalization. I'm going to mess this up. It's linguistic. What are they? There's a pain. There's a problem. They're doing work. They're not playing. They're not sitting in the pool in a giant inflatable unicorn, you know. they're
No, they're not.
it's sitting on a Monday at 9 somewhere, banging their head against the wall, and their boss is down their throat, and the board wants a number, right? So, like, figure that out in the annual report. Figure that out with social media. Pepper in a little icing, the personalization. But people, there's actually this great myth: personalization, relevance, and timing. And I help spend millions to build systems around that. The truth is it's really just relevance and timing. And if you're relevant enough, it is personal. It's very personal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because if it's relevant, then you know me personally. If you understand my pain, you know me personally.
Yeah, so there's kind of an interchange, just like AI and ML are the same thing. Because if you decouple that and you only personalize and you figure out, yeah, I love Pat Metheny, like I love jazz, but that's not going to help you do a deal with
right, because they need to like, trust, and
Mhm.
respect you, and that's not going to get them there. All personalization, understanding their problems, going to get them to that trust aspect.
Yep, and that's where all the greats in sellers are right. So building templates that hit the pain, and then visually representing that's really strong, and keeping it hyper short is powerful. Using Venn diagrams is something I also pioneered.
All right, y'all. Listen, I'm not gonna let him just get. Listen, it's all this stuff is in his program. You got to check it out. It's gonna be done. The guy gives it away. So follow Justin Michael. Justin, where can people follow you? Where can they like you? I'm gonna put all the links in the bio as well.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for letting me be a little bit of a challenger today. If you just go to Justin Michael on LinkedIn, I created a site called salesborgs.ai. I call my group Salesborg, like Seller and Cyborg. The problem was I wanted to be
Definitely
Tony Stark.
a Salesborg.
I wanted to thank you. I wanted to have the Avengers. I want to have Tony Stark, and I want to have the Jarvis. And I was like, oh, I don't want to have the mouse sue me. So what I did is I moved to Salesborg. But what I inadvertently did was I triggered the Borg, which is a hilarious sci-fi thing from Star Trek Next Generation. It's like assimilating. So I have like these little Borg ships with cats in them, and we do have a lot of fun with these hilarious analogies. But yeah, just find me, Justin Michael. If you're confused about how to find stuff, directly message me. I'm at a scale where I can send you some links and you can get the guides. And then I just want to see your results. That's all.
That's it. Tell your success stories, y'all. And listen, we're going to definitely have Justin back. I know that he covered a lot of stuff here. And look, I bet you we even barely cracked the tip of the iceberg with this guy and all the things that are out there to talk about. Justin, thank you so much for being here, man. We really appreciate you and the time, and looking forward to supporting you and your Borgs, your sales Borgs as we move forward here.
Thank you so much, Chris, and thanks to all the listeners.
Absolutely. All right, y'all, that's Leads to Growth podcast. We need you to like, if you liked it, go ahead and like it, give it us 5 stars review, right? Comment, share it with your friends, subscribe, definitely. Check out NASP.com. If you're not already a member, join. It's free. A lot of great resources, a lot of great tools, and we're doing nothing but adding more and more to that tool chest. Don't forget to check out Justin in the link in the bio here. We'll give you all access to all of his amazing programs. I think $1, and then he's got another $200 program. It's not well worth it. 10 times value always on everything we deliver on this program. Also, Nunbelievable.com, y'all. Holidays are coming. Now is the best time to be front and center on those hot prospects lists come January 1st. So send a gift, be top of mind, be there personally for the people that you've had relationships with, right? Those great clients that you've been talking with for a while, but maybe haven't been able to get that meeting yet. Send a cookie. Why not, right? And do something good for a great cause. Unbelievable, doing great things for people all over the world, feeding so many people a meal with every cookie. So check that out on the link at the end as well. Thank you, y'all. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next one.